I haven't cried so hard to a One Piece chapter in years. This newest chapter has given me so much backstory and so much to look forward to in the upcoming chapters. So just a heads up, I typically don't do manga reviews, right? I just be honey. But One Piece is my favorite series and I just want to talk about it. Especially recently because there's so much going on. Now, first things first. Kizaru, what are we doing, man?
My disappointment is immeasurable.
I was even thinking about making a video saying how Kizaru versus Luffy is one of the most important fights in the series. All things considered, he's the main reason for all the chaos that ensued in Sabaody. The reason the Straw Hats were backed into a corner. The reason Kuma had to separate them to save them. And the reason they went through such a tough time separated and came back even stronger. And this is the result? Oh, you better get up before— Now I know Luffy just beat Kaido, but in my head, I'm thinking like, I don't know, a Navy Admiral could be up there with Yonko, right? Let alone Kizaru, who's supposed to be like one of the 3 top brass. Right now, he's probably number 2. I'm thinking it's about to be like a battle for the ages, and the fact that like Luffy might even like, you know, work up a sweat and be like, oh, you're really giving it to me. But a Bugs Bunny punch to the dome is all it took for you to get knocked out. I'm disappointed, Kizaru. That's all I have to say. Although I do have to keep in mind that, like, you know, Luffy's up there now. He's only used Gear 5 once, and that was against Kaido. And he beat Kaido, who's supposed to be like, in my mind, he's probably like top, well, now it's kind of complicated. But like, right now, you know, going off your power scaling self, and like, you only keep in mind like the powerful characters that like, you know what I'm saying? Like Shanks, Blackbeard, etc. Like, in my head, he was like top 5. So in reality, Luffy really is up there, and like, not many people can tussle with him, you know what I'm saying? And now we getting a Gorosei to come down and handle business? Not gonna lie, I viewed the Gorosei as just some old dudes kicking it back in the living room, but I'm really seeing the magnitude of their beings now. Just one look is enough to get this guy to take your head off. Honestly, I wouldn't mind because you looking like my worst nightmare. Why is it always spiders, bro? But thanks to my girl Bonnie, who is being a darling, much more than that. She gave my guy a splinter last chapter and left us off on a cliffhanger, bringing us into this chapter. Right off the bat, the title of this chapter just gives the whole mood: a world where you're better off dead. Now, Saturn's announced to be on the island, and everyone below Rear or Vice Admiral has to avert their eyes, because I guess normies can't take that godly form. I'm kind of jealous because I had to look at it for pages, bro. But we as the readers and watchers have the privilege of knowing what the Gorosei look like, because no one in the real world has really seen them in real life. They've only gone off portraits because their eyes aren't worthy of seeing their forms. Also, since Saturn said it's been so long since he came to the surface, that means bro has been on Marihua since like forever. Don't y'all get musty just staring at each other in that room? And people tell me to touch grass. Now, going to Saturn and Bonnie's group, she's in the middle of giving it a shave, to which everyone's freaking out. Even this guy with the— what is he even doing here, bro? But apparently Saturn lets him know that this is some light work, saying he could have dodged it if he wanted to. Yeah, right, you trying to save face, aren't you? You better be staring at a lot of Marines right now. I know you be sitting on that couch eating ding-dongs all day. But then he knocks Bonnie away and then heals himself, which is absolutely broken in my opinion, because now I'm thinking, what do you have to do to hurt these guys? And like, not hurt because he did get hurt, quote unquote, but like permanently wound them. Because I'm wondering if she infused the katana with haki, would that do something? But like, I don't know, because in my mind, like, the Gorosei and like Imu are like beings who basically like gave this world like everything that they know, so they might be like embodiments of haki themselves. The form that he's in right now, his legs, they're probably infused with haki right now. I'm not sure, but it's the fact that like, how do you permanently wound them? The people who probably like invented this kind of stuff and gave that down to next generations, you know? Right before he heals though, he hits Sanji in the face with the same thing he hit Bonnie with, as well as that one guy whose head got knocked clean off. This ability like gives me like Pain almighty push vibes, you know? But with enough force to take someone's heads off, that's a bit broken, you know what I'm saying? So I'm wondering like what level of strength you have to be to like withstand that kind of force, because the Navy soldier clean off, like his head does not exist anymore. Bonnie got like not knocked out, but like knocked down enough to like be like woozy, and Sanji like took one on the chin, basically. Oh my god, like what did you do? So like there are definitely levels to this kind of thing. Now, much like me, Saturn seems to be disappointed with Kizaru's performance, to which he responds with an apology and that he has no excuses. I'm starting to feel some type of way about you, Kizaru. Like before, like the whole like structure-wise thing with the world government, Navy, like, I be thinking Kizaru was like such like a cold killer, you know what I'm saying? Like the way I mentioned this to everyone when like at Marineford when he was ready to take out, I think it was Shanks, right? Or no, Luffy, when he was like running away with Jinbei, Law, etc. When Ben Beckman like held that gun up at him, he was like, oh, Ben Beckman. In my mind, bro, I don't think that Ben would like could really like get him. I feel like Kizaru was just like, oh, I really don't want to fill out all this paperwork. I don't want to work up a sweat or anything. Like, so I'm thinking like Kizaru's like that, you know what I'm saying? And now it's like, what are we doing? And when he's like apologizing, I'm just like looking at this, I'm like, you're just like some lapdog right now. Especially the fact like he seems to be very, they look to Kizaru for these kinds of missions a lot more than most, because like, I mean, you could look to Akainu, but obviously he's the fleet admiral, so he needs to like take care of things. The other admirals, Chitora and Green Bull, were seen like protecting Mary Joao from like any impending attacks, especially with the, you know, the whole attack with Sabo and everything, saving Kuma, etc. But they were just like on standby. They couldn't really do much because of like all the celestial dragons around, so they couldn't really like show their abilities. But they be sending Kizaru like out to do everything, especially like back in the day, like Kizaru was like working with Vegapunk and everything, Sentomaru, and now he's sending it after them, and he's like, guys, I gotta do what I gotta do. It's like, wow, like I just feel disappointed, because I had this whole mindset of Kizaru being such like a cool like dude who just like nonchalantly just like does whatever he wants, and then like even if like Akainu came to him and was just like, yo, Kizaru, I need you to do this, like you gotta go to this nation and like kill and arrest like all these people, Kizaru would be like, man, I really don't feel like it, to be honest, so like could you send someone else, because I got some ramen to eat. I don't know, I had my own little headcanon. Anyway, now that Luffy is a husk from using Gear 5 too much, he's easy pickings for Saturn, as he attempts to kill him right then and there. But who would have thought, bro? Okay, this moment was kind of crazy for me. It's such a small moment, but it's so big in my mind. Cyborg Franky comes to save his captain from the Gorosei. The same Gorosei that just knocked two people considered levels above Franky. Franky's like a level below, you know, like the Monster Trio. Like he's probably like levels below Monster Trio technically. But Franky, like he never has an ounce of fear in doing what he believes. Like he goes against so many people. He would go against anybody, no matter what. Like running is not in his nature. Like remember he did that to Big Mom? He literally rode a motorcycle on her face, and now he's like blatantly saving his captain. Like meanwhile Sanji is knocked out. He's like, oh my gosh, like he's probably still holding his chin, and Franky's like strong right, like saving his captain, like grabbing him, making a beeline for it, just like, yo, I got my captain, you know what I'm saying? Like I got him, Franky. Give my boy his flowers. He not only has the pride of a man, but pride as a straw hat, because the way that he holds Luffy up, like saying like, yo, the big dogs are after us now, man. Like, yo, you really made it. I'm glad to be a part of this crew. I'm like, that's my boy, bro. Like, I feel like anyone, like, well, not anyone, but like if you had like Chopper, Nami, Usopp, like they would have did it like comedically. I know like Franky did it comedically, but like you could see Usopp just like running like, ooh! Like since the Gorosei are after you now, like as a pirate, there's not much higher that you can go. Now Saturn states that Luffy and Bonnie's involvement was unforeseen, and now their chances of escape are hopeless. But this shot of the two gives me some vibes that like I'm gonna touch upon later. Bear with me, it's not love, but like bear with me on my theories, you know. So, the situation truly seems to be hopeless, as Bonnie's being crushed in Saturn's grip while the others can't move due to some unseen force pushing them down. Man, I'm telling you, it's pain, bro. Bonnie yells at Saturn once more, claiming he killed her father, to which he replies nonchalantly, stating that he was born as a slave, being a part of the Buccaneer race, who had committed a grave sin against the world. Now, like, bro, Saturn, you gotta explain to me what these grave sins are, because you just be saying this stuff out of nowhere. All you and your buddies, like, bro, they did some sin back in the day, we just can't tolerate it. What sin was it? You gotta explain. If it's just existing, then say that you're petty. Now, as he tells this to Bonnie, she remembers the past between her and her father. He had always told her how he wanted to be a hero and save people from their suffering, like Nika, the warrior of liberation, who was a legend in his people's folklore for generations. You can see the two dancing with one another in a page as he talks about the drums that Nika danced to. It hit me so hard in my heart because, like, in this situation, you could see Kuma looking, like, from the outside, looking through bars. And she's saying to her father, like, will I ever be freed too? So, like, in that instance, either they're both slaves or he's looking from the outside in, as in, like, you know, he became the king of that sorbet kingdom. So, like, maybe he's finding a way to free her somehow. Maybe in that instance it feels like they're living for one another, so he's doing his best to, like, keep her strong, like, in against, like, the weight of the world, especially in such dire circumstances, because she's probably a slave right now, or in, like, prison. I'm not sure, but most likely it's a slave since her blood. And now, speaking of blood, we then see a flashback of Kuma's life since birth, where his father and mother want the secret of the Buccaneer blood to be kept a secret. The doctor who was handling the birth promised them that he would never let that secret out. But it looks like as if someone, like, overheard, maybe like an assistant or someone who was just walking by, but, like, the government agents, like, started storming the place, and the doctor was, like, pleading with them, just the fact, like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean for anyone to know this. Like, it was heartbreaking to see, because obviously he cared for that family and he didn't want to see them suffer, and he knows, like, the dire circumstances of being, like, a buccaneer, clearly. So it's just really hard to watch, and we just see, as it looks like the father, his name's Clap, by the way, pleads with the government agents to, like, just take him, because, you know, he's the only one with Buccaneer blood. But in this instance, considering, like, you know, how heartless they are, every party involved is guilty. So Kuma has Buccaneer blood in him now, as well as, you know, like, his wife, for even, like, having involvement with the Buccaneer in the first place, probably means, like, you know, you're clipped, so you have no option but to come with us. And the panel that they have with each other is very, very heartbreaking, because you see, like, the family just sitting with each other in chains, and, like, in the prison, like, as Kuma's looking at, he's newborn, like, he's probably like 2-3 years old, where he's looking at these chains. He's like, what is this, like some kind of toy? So, like, he's too young to even realize the dire situation that they're in. And the mom is comforting her son. I love the mom. Like, she's so strong in this, like, a terrible, like, ordeal, because, like, she's with a smile on her face, she's, like, just, like, rubbing his head, just like, oh, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. Like, I'm like, wow, you can really just, like, be normal about all this. Like, that's a mother's heart, though. But the real pain in this panel is seeing Clap. He was, like, struggling to even just, like, stand up, it looks like, just to, like, sit next to them, because he is, like, beaten down. Like, you see the blood and scars on him as he's sitting with his family, who are just, like, sitting down with each other, but he is clearly, like, bearing the weight of, like, the sins that he committed for being a buccaneer, you know what I'm saying? And he's realizing the situation that they're in now, probably blaming himself for getting them in this situation. Now we follow Kuma's life as a child slave, as he's being used, like, basically as a pack mule, and whipping him because he's going too slow. Meanwhile, that stuff probably weighs tons. He's threatened with death every time he cries, but what else can you do in this situation, especially for a child? After his days are done, he meets back up with his father as they're chained up in their quarters, fighting their own tears to ease each other's worries. But one day their cheerful facades fade and break down as Clap has to deliver some very painful information to his son, that his mother has passed away, stating that she's in a much better place than this hellhole. The panel that follows made me shed all the tears that I was holding back. Now, the face on Luffy when he lost Ace was painful, but seeing all the pain, anguish, and suffering on Kuma's face after this news was absolutely heartbreaking. Born as a slave, not even knowing your sin, doing the best to stay strong for your family, and having to lose them in such a crappy world. How do you get over that? And what really gets to me is that we don't see his mom ever since that one panel where they're all arrested. So we never know what goes on with the mom, which only leaves you to think, like, what happened to her? It's extremely painful to think about, because, like, we see Kuma and all the pain that he's going through as a child, and, like, Clap is basically beaten near to death every single day. Being a woman in like the slavery world, it just leaves the imagination to go everywhere, every possibility, because like these people don't care about you at all. They don't care if you cry, they don't care if you scream. You can only imagine what happened to her. In this situation, I don't blame Kuma at all for what he says, like saying like it's so much easier to die, but his father claims that he's very, very strong and that he needs to live, saying that he must survive, because obviously as a parent you don't want your child to like be thinking these kinds of things. Like you want them to have a smile on their face and be optimistic about their situation no matter what it is, and try and live on. And as a father, all he can do is comfort him and try and stay optimistic, as he claims that Nika will come to save them. Now in this panel, he mirrors the same dance and beat Kuma showed Bonnie in the future to reassure her, but in this case it doesn't end quite the same. The celestial dragons are sick of all the noise they're making and shoots his father Clap dead without a second thought, leaving the young buccaneer alone for good. This is truly sickening, bro. Like for real talk, I feel like Kuma at this point, he definitely has top 3 backstories, I would say right now, if not the saddest, in all honesty, because I mean, how much worse can it get for someone? The celestial dragons are now going on their native cleansing festival held every 3 years. Wow, okay. But what makes this immediately better is where it's being taken. God Valley. Now this is a moment in One Piece history that is extremely important and hype beyond imagination. This is a moment in time where Garp, Roger, Whitebeard, Rocks, Kaido, Big Mom, and who knows who else is there, are all present. It even includes our newly debuted Holy Sword Saint Garling, who, to be honest, I need to know the story as well as his placement in the series. Now, the way the cleansing goes is that they invaded territory and killed the natives, but to make things interesting, they're now adding a bunch of slaves to the game. Among those slaves is obviously Kuma, who had enough and decided to hightail it out of there, which I don't blame him, but they end up dragging him back. I mean, not even like, you know, government or like Tenryubuto, like the slaves are dragging him back, beating him so bad to the point where like he's unconscious, because the way that it goes is that like all the slaves are like in groups of 10 for punishment. So like so they're dragging him back, like you can't do this to us, like we got way more to live for. Yeah, not really. Now this is a very like personal favorite moment for me, because it introduces one of my favorite characters in One Piece. When you hear that signature laugh, hee-haw, bro, I got hyped the moment I saw that laugh. I was like, what? He's here? Emporio Ivankov has arrived, also donning the label of a slave. And he's not alone. He is joined by a young girl named Ginny, who is possibly his younger sister. She calls him older brother, but like, you know, and this girl Ginny, like in her debut, she's chowing down on some meat. Pause. So this is where my thing from back at that panel that I was talking about with like Luffy and Bonnie, like I have some kind of vibe with them. So right off the bat, like I've seen a lot of people saying like this is Luffy's mom. Like it has to be, bro. It has to be. People speculating like crazy. But I genuinely think it's like right in front of our faces that it's Bonnie's mom. I think it's pretty obvious right now. Especially like the meeting between Kuma, Ivan, and Ginny. Like I feel like it's a like fateful meeting, you know. But let me cook, you know what I'm saying? Let me cook. I do think that it's definitely Bonnie's mom, but I also think that that's Luffy's mom too. Yes, y'all. I think that Luffy and Bonnie are half siblings. Look, we don't know nothing about Dragon. We don't know nothing about Ginny. But who knows? Maybe when everyone like grows up, Ginny might be out there. She might be like, you know, doing her own thing. Dragon and Kuma, they might be Eskimo brothers. You know what I'm saying? Like they might be dipping in the same sauce. Who knows? But as I live and breathe, as my last theory was debunked with Bonnie being Luffy's mother, yes, I did think that. It's possible because, you know, her devil fruit, the traits are so similar between her and Luffy that I was just like, it's possible. But now I think it's even more possible for them to be siblings. Who else you know be chowing down on meat like Luffy, bro? The moment she was introduced in the series, she'd be like, yo, give me a plate, give me another plate, yo, like, I was like, yo, hold on now, what? Girl, she can eat. So this time, I'm holding out hope. I know it can be done. Also, my other theory, I think that, okay, so like, it was kind of like my own thing. Like the moment that I saw this page was when it wasn't the page that, like, you know, Garling was on, like, at first when you're reading it, but like at the end of the page I read on, like, TCB scans, they do like a color panel. And so, like, I saw, you know, Garling had red hair, and already I was like, this man Garling, there's something about him. But like in that color panel, they had red hair. So like just seeing that and looking more at his face, like its structure and like the look of it, I'm like, yo, he looked kind of like Shanks. This might be Shanks' father, and it would be very, very like eye-opening, because at the fact of how is Shanks just allowed to see the Gorosei, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's level to these things. Like Kaido and Big Mom, I don't think that they're being like invited into the Marijuana, like, to see the Gorosei to have tea. No Blackbeard, no Whitebeard, no Roger, but Shanks is out here coming through just like, what's up, y'all? I got some news. And to be kind of like working with them as well, like, it's so strange, bro. It's so strange. So I feel like, so obviously Shanks is living the life of a pirate. That's fine. But like, he's also keeping the ties of his father, like his holy being. Because I believe, you know, like, Garling's probably, you know, like a celestial dragon and whatnot. I don't think that they would just like invite anyone to be like a holy sword. I feel like they have people in their own like community that they're just like, he belongs in this thing, you know what I'm saying? So like part of like, you know, that lineage, so he can come up there, and like I don't think that he's totally like cutting ties away from this world, because it leads a lot, you know, to be known, and like it helps a lot with his journey as well as just like knowledge of the world. So yeah, I do think that Garling is either just related to, or just like direct lineage of like father and son for Shanks. I don't know. I think I cooked. I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, that's the end of the chapter. What do y'all think about it? Did you cry? Did you cry? Do you need a tissue? Do you need a hug? I need a hug. But let me know your thoughts, because I'm personally geeking right now. I kind of want to do more of these. Anyways, we'll see. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Love y'all. Take it easy. Peace.